morning, everyone. We're going to get started. So if you could grab some coffee or some bagels, muffins, and bring it around the table.
That's great.
That's our sheet.
Great.
You want to speak before I go into you want to speak?
No.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our June Manhattan Borough Board. Again, we're webcasting, we're web streaming live. And I'll let you know periodically, I guess, how many people are viewing in if you're interested in such detail. I'd like to say that this is our last meeting before we go on hiatus, but it's not, because Borough Board doesn't go on hiatus, Borough Service Cabinet does. So your district managers will be very happy next week when I say that, but I can't say that for you guys. You guys are year-round. It's like in the school system or universities where faculty have off during the summer and administrators have to keep working throughout. So the first order of business is the adoption of the June 15, 2017 Borough Board Agenda, which you have before you. Do we have a motion to adopt? We have so moved. Do we have a second? Second. All in favor? All right. Opposed? Objections? Hearing none. Motion passes. Next is the adoption of the May 18th, 2017 Borough Board minutes. I know you've had a chance to review the minutes, but if you need a little bit longer to review it now, we can extend that. Okay, we have a second. We have a so moved by Anthony. A second by Jim. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Abstentions, hearing none. Motion passes. Our first presentation, and actually the only presentation before we get into the community board chair report outs, is a presentation on board stat and board track, which is the Civic Innovation Fellows Program, which many of you are familiar with. And the presenters are from Beta NYC, which is Noel Hidalgo and Emily Goldman. And many of you, this is something that we've been working on and committed to for like the last 2.5, 3 years. And we've had certain false starts and certain setbacks to get the technology as well as the applications as well as the usage aligned well, at the community board level, the full board level, and in our office. So we're very happy with the progress that's been made. And that's why we're dedicating this as the only presentation to give you enough time for back and forth, asking questions, and really, providing, valuable insights, criticism, critiques, feedback, because this is something that we want to get right from the perspective of what community board chairs feel needs to be engineered and to make your work easier, from the perspective of district managers, which we've been working with them hand in hand, and ultimately we want this to seep down to the chairs of the different committees. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Beta NYC so they can wow us. Wow. All right?
So let me make sure that I can get everything. Good morning, everybody. I'm Noel Hidalgo, and right here is Emily Goldman. It's an honor to be in front of you. Well, we've been working with the Borough President's Office for the last 2 years. I think this is our first time in front of the Borough Board. And just to give you a little bit of background of Beta NYC, let's see here. So we're a nonprofit organization dedicated to using technology, data, and design to improve improve all lives in New York City. We've been a part of the Transparency Working Group and fighting alongside Gail, advocating for more government transparency through data. We were part of the coalition that helped get the city's open data law passed when Gail was in the city council. Our community is over 4,000 members, and we routinely host events that demystify how we, as technologists, can use our professional tools to improve New York. And over the last 3 years, we've developed a very special relationship with the Borough President's Office, and we're here to talk about it. And so I want to introduce you to some of our former cohorts as the Civic Innovation Fellows. We want to thank all the boards that have dedicated their time and taken essentially a leap of faith to engage with these undergraduate students and to engage with us. You've completed surveys, you sat with us for hours, plural, long interviews, and done some product testing, and it's been really helpful to get your ground truth experience to enable us to build some of these prototypes that we're going to discuss today. In 2013, we assumed management of this program called the Civic Innovation Fellows. which is in partnership with the CUNY Service Corps, and it's funded by the Fund for the City of New York and has been supported by Data and Society, a research institution in the Flatiron District, and the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation. And we're developing, and this program has developed a training program that essentially in the first semester takes these undergraduate students and kind of teaches them the foundation of what any one of us would want to know around open data, spreadsheets, census data, how do you use the city's open data portal, and then how do you turn that into interesting maps and useful tools. And so from that, we've trained 29 students. We've created 7 hours of video content, which you can actually access on Gail's YouTube page or on the Beta NYC YouTube page. And accompanying that is a 100-page workbook that essentially walks you through the core skills that anyone needs to know to essentially use the city's open data to effectively answer questions through 311 and through US Census.
Where is that? Is that available?
Yeah, that's available on the YouTube. We're going to send a follow-up that you can share out. We need to update that curriculum, just to be perfectly honest with you. Our provider, the mapping provider, Cardo, and the city have since updated a few of the web pages, and so over the summer we're going to update that. But the core pieces that you need to know are all included online. And so we've worked, and some of the accomplishments that we've been able to achieve over the last 2 years is that we worked with 311 to improve their service request data accuracy. We actually discovered a fairly big anomaly within the 311 data, which affected all community boards greater than 9. And so we've since been able to correct this particular issue. And over the last 2 years, we've increased and helped do it, and the Mayor's Office of Data Analytics increase the usability of the city's open data portal. Last year, our fellows performed a gap analysis and documented a number of opportunities that community board offices can engage in to improve their operational capacity. And this year, our fellows worked on 3 prototypes that were essentially discovered in that gap analysis. And so today we're here to introduce you to these 3 projects. So first of all is WordPress for community boards. The second is going to be Board Track, which is an attendance tracking tool, and then Board Stat, which is a 311 business analytics dashboard. So WordPress, how many of you know what WordPress is? Great! So the good news is, for those of you who don't, WordPress is an open source content management system which makes web content creation process simpler. The citywide, there are 11 boards using WordPress. 5 of them are in Manhattan. Since February, we've been able to interview 4 of the 5 Manhattan boards using WordPress. By the end of this summer, Do It is going to roll out a citywide solution to support WordPress, which is great because this is something as advocates we've been asking for a number of years. Previously, my old job, I worked for the state senate and rolled out the state senate's new website. So I've been begging the city to come up with a decent web solution, and finally we're going to get one. The borough president's office is in the process of migrating to WordPress, and we're actively exploring with Do It how to migrate those of you who have already adopted WordPress to the city's new solution, so that way you can save your money and put it to more useful things, as well as figure out how to better support the infrastructure that you have. And then we're in the process of handing over the research of those 4 community boards and the citywide. We've essentially looked at every single community board across the entire city, and we've compiled that into a research document that we're handing to Do It, so that way Do It will be able to understand what community boards' needs are, and then come up with a strategy to support them. So at the end of this particular conversation, we're going to have a sign-up sheet, which is essentially asking you to join our Civic Innovation Steering Committee. So if you're interested in adopting WordPress or exploring that particular transition, we want you to join us.
And by you, not you. I mean, I know you're all incredibly busy, but within your 50-member board, identifying people who would want to take this on after you've seen what the products are.
Yeah. And then now I'm going to hand this off to my esteemed colleague Emily Goldman, who's going to talk about board track.
Before you get off WordPress,
Question on WordPress.
Yes.
can I just ask if when we migrate from our WordPress site to your WordPress site, are we being limited to certain templates, or do we have some creative freedom within that?
So our conversation with Do It is open. It's an open conversation. The city needs to support a multitude of interfaces from the mayor's office, from agencies to borough presidents and to community boards. And so the door is open as the flexibility of the templates and what the websites are going to look like. There are some modules, what are called plugins, that are limited by the service provider that Do It has selected. So in that migration process, there needs to be essentially a scan of plugins and a security scan to make sure that everything is appropriate to migrate over. And if it meets that mustard, then things can move over. So there is a conversation and a little bit of exploration that needs to happen before things migrate over. So to answer your question, you should have the flexibility to have the templates that you select move over, but that needs to be checked.
But looking at in terms of the benchmarking of where all community boards are in relation to their sites, their websites, and it's safe to say that you're going to have a lot more than what you currently have. And you're going to have a lot more that'll be supported, and you have a lot more that kind of will be uniformly adaptable across the community boards, at least particularly in Manhattan. That's one of the goals. So you have like a lot more than what's currently available on your sites.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. It's a real honor to be here today. And thank you, Noel, for that wonderful overview of this whole program that we've been working on. So Board Track is the second tool that we've been working on. It's a standardized practice for attendance tracking. We understand that many community boards have different processes for this, and that some would greatly prefer to have a more efficient process for attendance tracking. We've interviewed and surveyed many boards about this. So built off of Community Board 11's existing tracking tool, we have created a system for each one of you today that is an attempt to standardize this process across community boards. So this is what the tool sort of looks like. It's just a screenshot, but I will show you a live version of it in a moment. So we have the committee, the board members' names, of course, in alphabetical order as the roll call, and you have options for their attendance. We have factored into this tracking tool present for the entire meeting, late arrival, early departure, late arrival and early departure, absent or excused. And it tallies up the number of each board member's number of presences and absences over the course of the year, notifying you when someone may be missing too many meetings. So each board, I know, has different practices in their bylaws, and this is going to take some interesting conversation and adoption, but it's out there and it's ready for each board's use. We've populated them with the new board members as of June. And we would love if more of you are interested in testing this out. We've had 2 community boards so far test it out and say that it works quite well for them. Thanks, Rick. And the third tool, does anyone want to talk about Board's Track before we move on to Board Staff? Okay. So boards?
I actually
Yes.
do. So is that we're at Board 12. Is Board Track to supplement, so I assume the entry of data is live as the meeting's going on, or is it, you still have paper attendance sheets and then add it later?
Go for it.
So Board Track is a, best way to look at it is a management process. So there are 3 tools that are part of Board Track. One is updated bylaws that make sure that you're accurately correcting or collecting the types of attendance tracking. That's the first part of the tool. The second part of the tool is figuring out an in-meeting attendance tracking mechanism. That could be paper, that could be this particular spreadsheet that's being done if you have access to the internet in the meeting that you're at. And then third is this actual spreadsheet. So Board Track is what I would like to say, a methodology to increase the data around attendance. So there are a couple different ways to use this spreadsheet. One could be live in the meeting. The other way is to look at and more or less mirror these conditions in a paper format while you're in the meeting when you don't have internet access. So, and that's the feedback that we received from all of the boards that we interviewed, is that you already have an attendance tracking mechanism on paper. You already have that workflow established. This is a way to centralize that in a way that can then immediately share information with the Borough President's office.
And you know, if any, I mean, this raises more questions than it answers right, at the moment.
Right.
So I know you're asking, is it the district manager? Is it the secretary of the board? Do we do it, you know? So like all, and these are all things that each individual board has to like work it out with themselves.
Right.
Then you have to discuss it amongst all of you, and then we hopefully could come at a consensus and a best practice.
Right.
And then the part of the bylaws is, in terms of why it's taking a while for office, as we revamp the bylaws and look at best practices and making it consistent, you know, with all the different charters and everything we have to make consistent with, we have to make sure that the language in the bylaws is able to help, you know, is consistent or aligned with whatever tool we've created. And in this case, this. So that's what we're revisiting. But yeah, this is a tool that, you know, we've worked, and it took a while to make sure it's as close to what you want it. But now that it's here, we still have to talk about, does it make sense? How does it make sense? Who uses it? How we use it? And but we hear you loud and clear in terms of, you know, people were not happy about like how kind of it was being, attendance was kind of being kept track of. When we had to collect it at the end of the year or twice a year, we were getting so many different formats, and even 2 or 3 different formats from each community board at different times, depending on when they send it. So this is aimed to kind of like get rid of a lot of that kind of noise.
Right.
Yes.
Is there a way to put in like excused absences?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, excused, yes, there is an option for excused absences, absolutely.
Because sometimes you want a member of a particular committee to go to something that's the same night.
Right, exactly.
And I think there's even a little bell or whistle that tells you when there's quorum, I believe, or that'll be, so, you know, I mean, we're trying to, and this is the version, you know, 1, so later on, you might want, you know, you'll help build it into a better version.
Is this available now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we have to, you know, we have to discuss how we want to roll it out.
Okay. Where is it?
So, if you're interested, let me say this. So we'll pass this out now. I have one side on each. If you're interested in signing up for there you go, the Civic Innovation Steering Committee, which essentially enables us to keep in contact with you after this. So that we can roll this out. Right now, we have this spreadsheet for all 12 community boards based upon the new members, which is what Emily had said. And so we can roll that out and then talk to you about how to customize it so that way you can start tracking attendance there.
And Roberta, the excused absences don't, of course, get counted as an absence in the final column.
Oh, that's good.
That's interesting.
Is there one more question over here?
I just had a question. Do you ever envision like that kind of a system, if one day maybe board members had ID cards, where there's just a module where when you come into a meeting, you just pop it in, and it's there? Is that kind of?
Yeah, actually, there was an intern last year that kind of proposed something like but, I mean, we're not ruling anything out. This is kind of like where we are technologically right now, because a lot of places, even with internet access in terms of real time or mobile, some of the places where you meet might not have internet access, but we wouldn't rule that out. But right now, we want to make sure that we can all kind of be on this page.
So tagging on with Roberta, there's excused absences, and then there's absences but where we choose to say we send somebody to someplace else. And then there's absences with and without notice, and we take very seriously, if somebody's told us, you know, I have to be taking care of something else, that's one thing, and we don't want to excuse or not excuse. I don't want to be a chair at the level of, you know, well, your need to be out of the meeting is okay, but yours not so much, you know, you're going to a party, you're going to something. But with and without notice, if they didn't even bother to tell us, that to me says a whole lot more about their
Yes.
engagement with the board. So is that included also?
So it's not at the moment, but that's exactly the kind of suggestion that we want, and I think that will, ultimately, there would want to be a standard practice perhaps for that. I don't know if all the boards would agree with that, but if you do, then that would be something.
We would like, right, absent,
Yeah, that'd be
with
good.
notice, absent, without, and excused,
Okay.
those three functionalities.
Okay, so the next, and I'll be showing you one more live version of this when we go to the demo, just real quick to see how it works. But Word Stat is the final tool. It's a 3-in-1 data analytics tool. Again, it's customized for each board. So over the course of the last several months, we explored a number of different options and platforms for this tool. We eventually decided on what we think is definitely the best approach for now, at least, and it's using a tool called Power BI, which is a Microsoft tool. So let's turn to the demos. So this is what Word Stat looks like. It opens in your browser. We have links ready for everyone as well. Here I've pulled out Community Board 3 to give you a quick walkthrough. I didn't know which board to choose. How was I going to decide? So I live in Community Board 3, so I went for that today. So what we see here are the top 10 complaints. Broken down into their descriptors. So in the 311 data, we have complaint type, and then we have a subset of complaint type, which is called descriptor, which gives you more information about what that complaint is really about. So for instance, here in noise residential, this subset of noise residential complaints refer to loud music / party. So in this time frame, this is the entire set of 311 data from 2010 to yesterday. This is what you're seeing here. Now, we can change our date range. So if we wanted just to look at the past year or so, let's look at the past year and a half. Things are going to change. It's loading. It's a lot of data, so it takes a minute to load. But the bar chart, of course, changes according to that different year, that different time frame. And so does everything else, the map and the information in the tables. It looks like we're still having some loading going on here.
Where is it getting the data from?
Where is the data from?
Yeah,
It's from the Open Data Portal.
Fine.
It's 311 data.
okay.
So now we've changed our date range. We're looking at only a year and a half's worth of data. We have top 10 complaints and their descriptors. Here we have how many complaints and their associated descriptors. And here we have the addresses of the top addresses with the most number of complaints. And here is a map. We're going to show you the usability of the map in a later stage. When you click a bar, though, again, when you click a bar, a particular complaint type within a bar, again, the page changes to be just that complaint type and descriptor. So this table over here on the right now only shows noise complaints that are noise construction before or after hours. These addresses, again, are referring to that complaint type, and the map is only showing those complaint types as well. So we have 5 pages to get through. So on my second page here, on our second page, we heard from the DMs that we met with who were so congenial to meet with us and give us so much feedback that they really wanted an address lookup page. They wanted to be able to plug in an address here and see its complaints. So let's, for the fun of it, look at the building I currently live in, 322 East 11th Street. Here we go. And now I see my building's complaint types. In this diagram down at the bottom, I see every single complaint type in this date range, every single service request in this date range with its associated complaint type, descriptor, agency, and the resolution description. That, for instance, the complaint being filed is a duplicate of a condition already reported. You may want to know that in your own analysis of this. So this is the address lookup page. It also shows that address's number of requests by year. So it looks like 2014 was a pretty bad year for my building, and that it's been doing a little bit better since then in terms of the 311 data. Page 3 allows us to explore a complaint type and its or its descriptor by month and year. So one thing I noticed when I was playing around here was that air quality in Community Board 3, so I can click air quality here, seems to have had a quite pronounced spike in 2016 in the month of May. Now, if I wanted to know what that was about, I could explore the descriptors a little bit more. And since I've already done this exploration, I'm going to cherry pick what I know is the source of this complaint. Air, odor, fumes, vehicle. Sorry, what does that say? Vehicle, idling. Okay.
Idling.
So in May of 2016, there were 38 complaints about this particular very small issue in Community Board 3, far outnumbering the others. So this is the kind of thing where we can start to recognize interesting spikes that are happening, and you can explore any complaint type, of course, that you are interested in. All about 150 complaint types are listed in this scroll down here. In the 4th page, we have, again, another way to explore these complaint types and descriptors over time. So we can see here in Community Board 3, well, what is this seemingly quite significant complaint type? This is broken union meter. Seems to be a significant complaint type over the course of the months. We can look at particularly, wondering if this was true in 2004, looking that this is true in 2014, or you can pick any other year to look at. If you wanted to then, noticing that broken unimeter was an issue, seems to be a significant issue, you can take a closer look at it, again, explore its descriptors, and discover that no receipt, broken unimeter, seems to be a very big issue in Community Board 3 when you look at the data on aggregate. If you wanted to look at it just in 2016, you can start to make better sense of it. And in 2017, this past year, we only have a few months out of this year so far, but we can see trends in that. And the 5th page is an agency profile page. We've heard that at the district services cabinet meetings every month, the agencies are present, and you would like to be able to understand what kinds of complaint types are being channeled to different agencies, and how, whether these complaint types, whether these service requests have been closed, and additionally, like the average days to close for that agency. So if we can pick this 2 ways. We have, if we wanted to look at NYPD specifically here, again, down the table, of course, changes to just be NYPD complaint types. And we see here that NYPD is rather fast on the closing front, whereas if we wanted to look at DOB, we have a little bit of a longer time period of days to close. Again, this is the full set of data, so you may very well just be interested in a couple of months worth, or the past month even. So we could change this to 5/12. 2017 to 6/12/2017, just 1 month, and get much more granular information about what's been happening just in that past month alone. So that is the overview of BoardSet. I want to show you 2 more, just sort of let's switch to a different community board just for fun, and just show you a couple more use cases. So for instance, here we are now in CB8. We've also heard from district managers that investigating like noise issues, specifically regarding liquor licensing, is a big issue that could be useful for this tool. So here we have, we've zeroed in on the noise commercial complaints, which are typically those like referring to bars and restaurants and things like that. And we're noticing, that there are, well, over this large time frame, almost 5,000 complaint types for noise commercial in CB8. But when we look at this table here, we find that, 1134 First Avenue, it has 183. So on our address lookup page, we can type in 134 First Avenue and start to investigate those complaints a bit more. So yeah, we've got a lot of loud music party complaints here at 1134 First Avenue. And this, I believe, would help inform that process. And and if you wanted to, of course you can put in any address, even one that you didn't notice on the previous page. Something that, any address that comes to mind, you can just plug into this search bar here. So that's just an example of how it might be used from what we've heard for the liquor licensing. And then a second use case might have to do, this is for CB12, which one of our CUNY fellows discovered was a bastion of heat and hot water complaints in CB12. So, and these of course relate to what's going on with sort of landlord and tenant relationships. So if we start looking at those heat and hot water complaints, we can see that, for instance, 34 Arden Street seems to be topping the list here with over 4,000 complaints related to heat and hot water. This is an example of when you might need to, get that landlord on the phone or something like that, and explore those issues further. So that's sort of what we've got so far, and we would love to hear more feedback from you all. Before I go away, I'm going to pull up board track real quick just to show you guys. This is CB7 populated with your board members, new members, and it's a blank sheet, but the drop downs.
It's in read only.
Oh, it's in read only. Okay, it's in read only form, which is why the drop downs aren't available. Thanks, Noel. But there's a drop down in each cell when you open this up in non-read only form that has those P for present, late arrival, early departure, etc. That's how this would work. So if any of you are interested in having this, that's something else we would ask you to sign up for. Yes.
So this is also for each of the committees as well, right?
So, okay, great question. So we have tabs for each of the committees, but we need your help to, number one, populate those committees with the new names of the members assigned to each of those committees. We couldn't find that information online necessarily. And also to make sure that these are the accurate names of your committees. We think there may be some differences among the boards. So if you give us the accurate names of your committees and who's on them, then we will finish prepping this sheet for each of you individually.
So this is what, on Google Doc?
Yes, so this is also a Google Sheets, so you just get to it online. We need to deal with the permission issues and such, but again, it's a in the browser sheet. So technically, a committee chair or whoever the committee chair designates can kind of have it on their phone or on their iPad, whatever it may be, and be able to just put it in right there during the committee meeting. That's the intent to kind of do it right there.
So the intent is to work within your existing workflow. So we've heard that there are existing attendance practices that include on paper. And so this is designed to accompany that. And so this is not a tool that we can just launch today. We want to customize and make sure that works within your workflow, which is why we're asking everyone, if you're interested in this, to sign up for the Civic Innovation Steering Committee, and so that way we can continue improving this product and make sure that it works within your workflow.
So it's the same thing.
Okay, so back to,
Okay.
Yeah.
No, we have
Going
a
back
question.
to board staff,
yes.
very impressive and thank you. Have you heard any feedback about community boards using it or presenting it on our website so that others
Yeah.
can see it? I know somebody does that already.
Absolutely, great question, and yes, almost everyone we've spoken to about it has said, and that would go well with the WordPress for community boards. The
Okay.
team site couldn't host that, but if you have WordPress, you could put that embedded into your website.
Would you be able to help us do that, or does Stuart help us with that?
So yes, and yes, and yes. So the first step is, we want to roll out these dashboards to all 12 of you, so that way your boards can start looking at 311 data. We want to get your feedback so that way we can improve the tool and make sure that we increase its utility, right? So that way it makes sense for you, it makes sense for your board members, it makes sense for your committees, it makes sense for you to hold agencies accountable. And then once we have that kind of figured out, then we can start talk about putting it up on a website so that way the general public can use it. We want to make sure that it works for you first and foremost, and then we want to share it out. The idea is that board stat would exist at least on the borough president's webpage, so that way anyone who's interested in community boards in Manhattan can go to all 12 of them and look through the different dashboards. But we need to figure out a few things first, and then we can get to putting it up online for the general public.
I can say we've looked at this. We had a nice demonstration of this. I love this. I'm afraid I'm hoping that it's not extra work for the office, which is always a problem. But it's just wonderful. Now, on the WordStat one, can you put in a range of addresses in order to capture like a neighborhood?
That's a great question, and not at the moment, but and so that's exactly the kind of feedback we're looking for, but,
He's writing it down.
yeah.
You're part of the development team.
Right. That's great.
Exactly, yeah, and perhaps there could be a way to select on a map a rectangle
That
of area of interest.
Right, like
So
it'd be really helpful in our area to be able to identify Murray Hill or to identify Sutton Place and be able to report back to that, like their neighborhood association, that this is a problem that we're tracking for your neighborhood. We need feedback from you. I mean, but it would not be it wouldn't be a linear thing. It would have to be a kind of crazy map.
Oh, all right, like okay, that's it, okay.
So you might
yeah,
need
we
the
could-
geotagging thing that you had. I know it's in there somewhere, but
Right.
if we could sort of figure that out, I'm sure it gets very complicated when you're talking all of Manhattan. But a rough idea, anything we'd be grateful for.
Okay.
Something that may help is even by zip code.
Zip codes are
it'll
good.
give- If it's difficult to like
Yeah, that's
do your own,
That's good.
kind of draw your
Yeah.
own borders, a zip code.
Oh, that's-
may
That's
be-
a lower hanging fruit. That's
Yeah,
easier
that's
to do.
perfect, the zip code is already in
You're right, it's a good
In terms of a
approximation.
medium term solution.
Yeah, exactly.
Any other questions, comments?
Probably takes some getting these students and playing around with on your own, but
Yeah.
we'd love
If
to,
you're in
get it in your hands. So
And you get a chance to use it, kick it around, but they're very interested, as you hear, to get your feedback, in terms of user case scenarios, so that they can try to really deliver. And I guess a lot of this, we won't know until it's being used, and until your members and the chairs of the different committees use it. And it'll change a little bit the work, right, or how we understand the work. When you start, every time they switch from a community board, in much the same way I showed you guys the word clouds, how Manhattan is Manhattan, but it's very different, every community is very different. When you look at the colors that represent the different complaint types, every time he switched community boards, you saw how you were all each distinctly and unique and different, and how the colors shifted, which means the kind of experiences that people are having in the community. So that, even that, and then being able to drill down by address is a real, a good, and by agency, it really changes or structures a conversation at the district cabinet meetings with agencies, and it helps you zero in on kind of like the most important issues. And then I think our office sees this as a way too, in terms of the workflow, it kind of screams out like what letters should have been sent to which agency, by whom, focusing on which buildings or focusing on which issues. And maybe even print out the graph and attach it as an attachment, like there's so many different, user friendliness that was built into this, that will change the work somewhat, but I think in a good way. This is not, like they managed to take, Socrata is what, a multi-million-dollar system, right? So a system's already been built. It doesn't mean crap to you because you don't use it, you can't use it, it's difficult, it's hard, you need to learn a lot. They've actually, without millions and millions of dollars, trust me, our office didn't have that, but we did get some money. They translated kind of like that real bulky, difficult system into something that's like more customized from the perspective of like the community board. So like that was kind of like what's trying to be achieved here, and it's only going to be useful as you guys tell us it is.
I don't know if you've heard, but Do It and 311 are going through a multi-million-dollar redesign.
Billion or million?
Million. IBM is going to be rolling out a new kind of CRM for 311. And I've looked at the contract and explored it, and they've identified all the different agencies, and then there are two essentially stakeholders that are not clearly defined for the 311 solution. One is community boards, and the other is elected officials. And we've met with 311, and they recognize that this is an opportunity to work with community boards. And so, we demoed this product to them, and they were like, this is exactly what we are wanting to figure out, and we want to figure out how to include it within our new redesign. So your input into board stat will help improve 311, and we have an opportunity to influence the data that's being collected within 311, so that way it can improve and help your operations. Can we go to our last slide? Yeah, great. Thanks, Emily. So what I have here is essentially your names, telephone numbers, and email addresses from essentially, what do I have here? 11 community boards. So, and there's only one the one that's missing, and that's fine. So we are going to be following up with you. As I have up here, we need you to help us help you, as a lovely used car salesman line. The idea is that we don't want to burden you. We already know that you have a lot of commitments, but we want to get your feedback. We need your feedback. That's the only way that we can improve these particular tools. So we're going to essentially ask you for your input, and you can assign this to other board members. You can put this on the burden onto the staff.
It's a joy.
It's a joy. They live this. They live for this.
So these are 3 tools that we've been working on in this pipeline. We want to follow up on developments on essentially how these tools are going to be improving. And then I have here invites to experimental trainings, just as we have used our CUNY undergraduate students as guinea pigs for our trainings. We would love to use you as guinea pigs for our trainings. We've been able to come up with some innovative techniques for teaching data. One of them is actually Mad Libs meets Cards Against Humanity, which enables you to learn the terminology that 311 has, the terminology that Socrata, the city's open data portal, uses, and just gets you oriented and thinking about, these are equations, this is math. But it involves a certain human layer, and so how do you start exploring those terms and those features that makes that data relatable to the human level. And so we want to be able to kind of like take all these things and go to you. And so with that, thank you very much.
And next week on the 23rd, we have a community board training series, and some of this will be presented to whoever attends and has registered for that session. Next, we'll go to the report out by community board chairs. Something very wonderful happened last week where excuse me?
You want to do board chairs?
Yeah, board chairs. Because some have to. So something very wonderful happened last week. One of the members of the community board, of the borough board, has graduated on to the state senate. Your former colleague Brian Benjamin. So congratulations to him. That was a great news. And then also wonderful news, we're joined by Cecily Harris, the new community board 10 chair. It was a great transition, and we're happy to have you as part of the borough board now.
Thank you.
You'll have a chair report out in a second. I don't know if they briefed you on that, but we won't start with you first. We'll start with Community Board 12. Your report out.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. And thank you again for Algin for this courtesy. I'm one of those who has to head out to work, so thank you again for the courtesy. So Community Board 12, I think we all begin the same way. Community Board 12 has been very busy this last month, right? I want to thank the Borough President, the Borough President's office for appointing our first 16-year-old member.
Yeah.
So we're happy to have him on board. It also gives us another reason to end our meetings on time because he has a curfew. So he has to be out. That joke will never be old. I'll use it every month. I saw this on the way in, and I thought it was excellent. The Save Supermarkets brochure, it's wonderful. And on page 8, selfishly, I would point out that we, with the Borough President's great assistance, saved the supermarket, the Associated Supermarkets. So this is something, hopefully, at time we can, I've always said we can certainly reduce what we did in that case, in that instance, to a case study on community engagement. It happened to be a supermarket, but the recipe, the formula that was taken, certainly something that we can use again. And of particular interest in our district now is a private ULUP application that was certified, and the community board now has our 60 days to review it. It's for 2 townhouses, a private spot of zoning, but it is it'll be an indicator of what's to come with 2 other major projects in the district. What's interesting is that, and this butts up against the city charter, that the ULUP application was certified in early June, which gives our 60-day application or our review during our recess period. We contacted city planning. There was no stalling or pushing off, so it shows that the work will continue even during what would be technically a recess period. It's such an important application that we will be working through that. And with that, that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Community Board 11.
So welcome to our world about working over the summer. That's exactly what we have experienced as well. My name is Debbie Quinones and I'm the vice chair. And I'm stepping in for Diane Collier, who is stepping in for Angel Muscane, our district manager, who has some health issues. So we have some board dynamics that we are addressing. We have a new hire as an assistant district manager who's getting burned. I mean, this is his first week and he's getting hit so hard, but we love it. He's excited. We're grateful for his enthusiasm, even though he has so much on his plate. But we're working well to see how we can kind of address all those issues. Very briefly, as you know, we have major ULUPs coming up, major issues on rezoning. And I'd like to just take a moment to be really appreciative of the work that all the community board members have engaged in. A lot of meetings, a lot of late nights, a lot of work on crafting a response to DCP. We have been meeting, we have a rezoning task force that has been meeting bi-weekly since, seems like forever, but a few months. But they have been making efforts to educate the community, to allow for input. We look forward to our new members that have been appointed to our community board. Contact has been made with them, brief discussions about orientation, and also the current members are all stepping up in terms of participation and work on the committee. So I'm just pleased to say that while we know that we're coming to the end of the session, we also know that work will continue as well. And we just try and make it as smooth as possible.
Thank you, thank you. Community Board 10?
Good morning again. My name is Cicely Harris. I'm excited to be here. I was excited for Brian. We did have a great election. I hope it was a smooth transition. We did. So I ascended, and then John Lynch, I don't know if any of you know him.
Yes.
He was the first vice chair, second vice chair, now he's first vice chair. And we had an election of Charles Powell to the second vice chair position. So we're kind of all stocked there, and we had our new members there for the first time. They were great. I got to reach out to them and talk to them, and they're awesome. So great selections there. We also had a new hire for the community associate position, Isaiah Jenkins. So I think we do have a full staff now in our district manager's office, and he's very excited about that. So that's great. Also, we had a park revealing with Jackie Robinson Park, where we partnered with the Junior League, so that was a very exciting thing for us. Our Chair of Parks and Recreation, Karen Ori, was very eloquent as she accepted the gratitude and on behalf of Community Board 10. So that's all I have. Again, I'm excited to be here. Hopefully I'll be able to attend a lot of the meetings. I'm a lawyer, so I'm in and out of a lot of things. So hopefully I'll be here as much as possible.
Welcome.
Good luck. All the best.
Yeah.
Thank you for being the newbie. It was me for a long time.
Thank you. Community Board 9?
Thank you. Good morning, all. So there's a few things going on. Thanks first and foremost for the new blood that we have on the board. Actually today we are having a couple of things. We're looking to review our bylaws. So we're going to be going over that with the intent of having a vote for that at the beginning in September. And then we're also having elections for our executive officers today. That being said, we also just made the jump over to WordPress. So I think we are primed for some of the stuff that the Borough President's Office is doing in terms of technology and assistance. A lot of our stuff most recently has been around housing. We have a couple of meetings that's coming up with Jewish Theological Society for some of the housing that they're putting up. We're also addressing some stuff around the NYCHA, which we're working to do together with CD7. So we've had some introductory meetings around that. We've been introduced to a site called justfix.nyc. It's apparently a free site that provides assistance to residents in terms of getting repairs within their...
It works. It works.
It works. Good to hear that. So we are trying to push it out to all of our board members as well as the residents of CB9 so that they can take advantage of that.
We actually had a forum in the district office on the topic.
Correct. Right.
Just Fix?
Justfix.nyc, correct. We also recently had a SATE, which stands for School and Teachers Artist Expo. So this is something that our cultural committee does, basically to teach artists that are typically just producing their art, how they can have a pipeline towards jobs or to be able to be teachers within the New York City school system. So that was very well attended over a 2-day period, and very happy for everyone who made it possible. And that's it, thank you.
Thank you. Community Board 8?
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm not Jim Kleins. My name is Daniel Dornbaum. I'm one of the secretaries of CB8, and I also co-chair the Technology Committee, so thank you. That was really good. And we are very much looking forward to working with you further. Please utilize the 16-year-olds and the younger folks on your boards, because this stuff is very important, as you just heard. So a couple of quick updates. We will be at multiple street fairs throughout the summer. We've already been tabling at one of them, in the Lenox Hill neighborhood, 2nd Avenue Street Fair, but there are a few over the summer that we will be at. We welcomed 7 new members to our board last night, and we had a new member orientation, as many of you all do, and each co-chair spoke about their respective committees, and it was very informative. And we also last night had a forum on our 86 and Lexington project the developers, DOT, MTA all spoke, and we initiated a task force that will meet regularly to monitor that project because it is rather controversial in our district. So with that,
Rather?
thank you. Say that
Rather?
Right, yes, yes.
Thank you. Community Board 7?
We have 5 new members, and we they each have a mentor. We had a mini meeting with them, and we were having our potluck for them on next Tuesday. We have also involved, so far, 3 people who applied but did not get on the board, one of whom is working with our communications committee and is developing an Instagram program for us, and 2 people who are working with us on transportation and some other issues. Tonight is the American Museum of Natural History hearing on the DEIS, and a whole group of us will be doing that. Next week, Westside Federation for Senior Housing is having a scoping section, which HPD is holding on the building on 108th Street. They want to tear it down and buy 3 garages from the city for $1 each and build supportive housing for seniors. There's a lot of opposition from the community because the people that park in the garages have organized and hired a lawyer. The other thing I wanted to ask is, we're trying to look at guidelines for secondary street namings. And so I wanted to know if any other boards have street namings, if they could share them. And then I had the idea that maybe we could all share some of our guidelines for street fairs
Our
and
guideline is we don't do them.
secondary street names.
Too many in Board
Co-naming,
5. It's just too many, so we don't even address it. We're against them all.
We're very strict on it, too.
I'll send you our policy.
Okay.
Thank you. Community Board 6?
Well, the good thing about being in the middle of this, around the table, is I've already heard everything that I'm going to report, because you all are experiencing the same thing. We have it's actually a zoning text amendment that we started a public hearing on last night. The public hearing continues next week. The Borough President will be joining at that public hearing. It's on a potential it's from the community. It's not from city planning. It's on a potential down zoning of Sutton, in the Sutton Place area. City planning is not in favor of this proposal. The community is, so we're giving them the opportunity. We originally had it scheduled, as Jim was talking about, Shaw was talking about, into July, but we got a lot of pressure because there's a 90-story building planned for this particular area. And they want to get something as quickly as possible so they can stop the concrete being poured and the building being set. So we scheduled a public hearing at full board last night. We're having a public hearing before the Land Use Committee meeting next week, and then we're having a special full board meeting at the end of the month. So we actually solved 2 problems. We're getting them faster, and then we don't have to meet in July, which was a nice side effect. I share the pain about district office issues and staffing. I've been dealing with that since the day I was first elected. It's been a year and a half now. We are finally getting things taken care of. We have 2 new people starting on Monday who we're filling in as consultants. They're not city employees. They're temporary through the end of the year. We have 1 employee who's on an extended maternity leave. She'll be out until the end of the year. We just had let's see, how do I say this? We just had an employee resign. So it would have been the district manager by himself. Now he'll have 2 people, and we're really looking forward to getting back up to speed with the district office. We have 6 new members. We originally assigned 7. 1 dropped out within 2 weeks. I don't take personal offense, but I'm beginning to wonder. They were introduced last night at full board. I do a little bio of each one. We gave them a gift bag. We give them a canvas bag with the borough president's name on it. That came with our district manager when he was hired, because he used to be an employee of the borough president. And they met with their mentor at that time as well. They'll be getting some training through the mentor system over the summer. We have a new 16-year-old to replace one who is just graduating and going on to Harvard. So we will be celebrating that at the end of the month. Our website is right now a mess. We are grateful for this effort towards WordPress. Our website crashed, and there was only one person on the board who knew how to fix it. And he wasn't available. We were down. We didn't have a functioning website for weeks. That can't happen. And then under this situation, we'll have the proper backup. We'll do it right there. I'm really looking forward to that happening. And I do want to get the same kind of flexibility we have now, but the support is far more important than the flexibility, because you can't go without a website these days. I will want to talk to people who are doing their bylaws. I have some bylaws provisions that need some tweaking, but we understand that there's going to be an effort to do more uniform bylaws across community boards, so we want to time it so that we don't do a lot of changes and then have to change them again. So maybe we can talk about that going forward, about the right timing for it. But we do have a couple things we're going to have to do related to elections and about how we talk about certain types of information. And I don't think I have to leave early, but I'm going up for a ribbon cutting at Stuyvesant Square Park. They're going to make a politician out of me. The next thing they're going to have me kissing babies, I'm afraid. But no, it's a great occasion. We are celebrating the completion of a renovation of the fence around Stuyvesant Park, which has taken 30 years to get done, mostly because the money was never there. But in the last few years, we had the great support of Rosie Mendez, of Dan Garodnick. Wouldn't surprise me if the borough president threw in some money, but I don't know for sure.
Before I was.
I think it was before the borough president joined us, under Scott Stringer. And we finally have seen this happen. It was one of those things where they wanted to restore it with the original materials, so it's a true representation of what it was like when the Stuyvesant family funded it in the early 19th century. It's a great little park right at where Beth Israel Hospital is. So we're going to go up and cut the ribbon today, and that's it for me.
Thank you. Vicky, CB5?
Yes, good morning. 14 positions, I know.
Yikes.
13 new people, we still have one coming. We had our orientation. Looks like a very good crowd. We wish we had our student back. She was wonderful. She really was. She was super. We had our elections this month. No real changes, which means I'm back.
Yep.
Oh, God. What's
9
it?
years?
What's it?
9th year?
9th year. Going into the 9th year.
I'm a shrink you should be.
That's what my husband says.
They're like 9 years, this is one and done.
Tuesday, we testified, final EMT, East Midtown rezoning, thank God. Very quickly, we weren't terribly busy this month, so how's that for a switch? But we did have 2 applications that I wanted to bring to your attention. One, because it might affect some those of you who travel down into our area or up into our area. We had a application from Department of Transportation for the temporary closure of 2 blocks of Broadway between 36th and 40th Streets to motor vehicles. It's going to be a pilot program for June, July, and August. There's a low amount of public space in the Garment District and a low volume of motor vehicles during the summer months. So, and there's a high, exceptionally high volume of pedestrian counts. So this was something that DOT wanted to do along with the bid supporting it. Business access will be allowed. Signage is going to be there to encourage bikers to walk their bikes through. It's going to be furnished with stone benches, street seats, turf boxes, movable furniture, and artwork. And the bid and Department of Transportation are partnering, right, programming and maintenance. There'll be 12 food kiosks, and after studying the effects, DOT is going to return to us with the results. Had a lot of public support. What I wanted to mention, because this is something that we in Board 5, I'm sure there are other boards that experience this as well. Big problem with commercialization of public spaces, and we're very concerned about that. So we put out a statement, I'm going to read it to you. Although CB5 has strong concerns regarding the best use of these spaces and recognizes a potential for abuse of these public spaces by the proposed commercial uses, CB5 supports efforts to creatively share street space and improve vehicular, bicycle, and pedestrian traffic flow, as well as efforts to improve the aesthetics of the New York City streets, and believes that the applicant's proposed trial program fulfills these goals. The thing that was interesting is that we kind of have a reputation, or a kind of a precedent rather than a reputation, of our board really supports the work that's done by the committees, because we always talk about the fact that the work of the board is done at the committee level. And this came out of the committee unanimously, and it turned into like a 45-minute discussion at the full board for all the reasons that, and I'm sure other boards are experiencing this as well. People are really concerned about what's happening to our public spaces, and so while we want to support it, we're really concerned that it's going to be totally primarily commercialization of the space. So it passed, but it was, it was almost a split vote. The second and last thing is we're seeing a unbelievable proliferation of rooftop cafes in Board 5, and noise complaints all over the place. We had 2 new requests this month. Our problem is there is no enforcement, and there's no concern for the impact on the neighbors by either the SLA or the New York City Police, unfortunately. What I wanted to make everyone aware of, because I think this would be great for everyone to, if you haven't seen it, to go on the website. The State Controller's Office put out a report. It's called the SLA Responsiveness to Noise. And ultimately what they're saying, the SLA has not been effective.
We are looking for an SLA member right now to represent Manhattan.
Good.
If you have any ideas, I need them today.
Oh, great.
Not a board member, we're gonna look through those who did not get onto the community board just because of space, not any other reason. But I am behind in getting back to the governor's office, who reached out to us.
They just don't get Manhattan.
I know, but this is a hard job. You're gonna get screamed at by us, and then you're gonna get screamed at by the business.
Right.
So it needs to be somebody who has that ability to handle both. So I mean, literally, we need somebody.
That's great.
Yesterday, it's my fault. No, it's hard, I can't think of somebody immediately. So anyway.
All right, just to end that, the key recommendation that came out is that the New York Police Department has to enhance the precinct record keeping, develop formal system-wide procedures, follow up on establishments with high volumes of complaints, including periodic communications with the SLA, formally assess effectiveness of actions taken to mitigate persistent noise problems, and as far as the SLA, they should be developing formal processes to access and analyze 311 noise complaint data, develop and implement formal communication protocol with NYPD, and what we were proposing is that the electeds need to really get involved on this. We need updated legislation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the good thing about the presentation you saw earlier today on BoardStat is I remember playing with the data about a year and a half ago. When you drill down at the address level and at the complaint type, rooftop rooftop bar noise is a distinct category. I remember that from about a year. So that's one way you can actually track that as well. Community Board 4? Oh, Community Board 3?
Hi everyone. So to start, our public housing subcommittee met, discussed 2 important things related to NYCHA. One, FEMA funding for resiliency work along all the NYCHA waterfront campuses, which is a pretty big deal and going to require a lot of oversight on our part. It's literally probably 10,000 units of housing. And the second is a next-gen NYCHA project on the LaGuardia campus. So that's a market rate. About, I think they want to do 50% market rate, 50% affordable housing to help defer the $70 million backlog of maintenance at that one campus alone. Economic Development Committee had a really well-attended meeting to discuss a proposed special zoning district to help preserve small business in the, we'll call it the East Village area of our district. Extremely well attended, New York One even showed up, and it was really great coverage. The overall sentiment from our residents is that the businesses that they know and love are disappearing, and the small businesses that are entering have a hard time staying. So we're looking at how on a regulatory level we could address that, along with other things we can do to again keep the neighborhood as vibrant as it is and the place that we love. Health and Human Services. The Department of Health, the State Department of Health, had a hearing where Mount Sinai and Beth Israel, and I know that's technically mostly in CB6, but we're getting the hospital in a few years. It's going to move south 14th Street. So they had a hearing. They also presented their own findings, independent of Mount Sinai and Beth Israel, that came to similar conclusions about the justification for reducing the number of beds and reducing the services. We are still looking into this, and exactly how we, the community, can continue to be involved in what's a very technical process. Last night, the borough president joined us for a meeting to discuss a parcel of land on 14th Street that's owned by the city. It's currently a PC Richards, and the mayor wants to build a tech hub. There's a developer that they are working with on this project. It's meant to bring good paying jobs and entrepreneurial gateways into the new tech economy for our community. It was a pretty well attended meeting because many residents also would like there to be a look at the zoning on our 3rd and 4th Avenue corridor in addition to some land in CB2. So the argument from residents was that while we have to vote on a UR for this one parcel, we should very much consider a zoning of the 3rd and 4th Avenue corridor to help keep it from becoming a lot of very tall buildings. That's all we got. We got 9 new members. I'm meeting them sort of one by one. They all seem very nice, hardworking individuals. Thank you very much for the appointments.
Thank you.
That's all I got.
Thank you. Community Board 2?
Board 2 has 6 new members, including a 16-year-old. Met with them, loved the 16-year-old. She's very dynamic, so I know that the extended selection process yielded some good results. So happy for that. Working now on committee assignments and for all members to start on July 1st, and then maybe public members after that. Our challenges continue to be liquor licenses. We are literally swimming in alcohol, and we are frustrated with the SLA. The SLA isn't looking at 311 data. Recently, they told one of our committee chairs, because we have 2 SLA committees because we have that many applications, they said, well, if we don't get the complaint, then, we don't look at it. Now, that's not possible. That's why 311. So we're working on setting up a mechanism by which we can further report complaints now to the SLA in desperation, so that at least these get recorded. Of course, we're always working on land use issues. The development pressure is not abating at all. Affordable housing is being lost and not creating enough. Schools, there's a lot of issues related to schools in our area. Preserving open space, because developers look at open space as an empty lot ripe for development. Also things like quality of life, late night deliveries, that in a mixed use, we have quite a bit of mixed use neighborhoods are making it impossible for people to get a night's sleep. And transit, subways, the lack of buses, issues in an area that has a lot of seniors around Accessoride. So those are some of the issues. We're seeing a lot of changes in retail where local serving businesses are gone, and what we've got are either small pop-ups that use the sidewalk as retail space, or very, very oversized. the developers say, we need the flexibility because retail is changing, so you have to give us 45,000 square feet of retail, and then maybe later we might subdivide it, or we'll have what's now big, these experiential spaces where there's some selling space, maybe in the cellar, which used to never be selling space, and things happening, which again, the lines form on the sidewalk intentionally. So that's a new model that really we need to get ahead of, because what's really interesting is a lot of these places seeking to do these very big stores are pointing to existing oversized retail that is illegal, that is operating without the required special permits, and they're saying, see, it's all this big oversized retail, and we're like, yeah, it's all illegal. And so we're trying to figure out a very interesting process, which is DOB has issued ECB violations, which then go to oath, except out of the 6, only 3 have gone to oath. 1, they didn't show up, the other 2 were postponed till August, the other 3 have never been moved forward. And what we don't know yet that's going to be very interesting is it going to be an $800 or $10,000 fine and you just guys keep going? Because what they're not doing is bringing these stores into compliance. And the stores are getting very creative in reading and finding these interesting loopholes. Evidently, if you sell a couple of baseballs in a lingerie store, you're a sporting goods store, and that's allowed. Or I'm exaggerating, perhaps, but maybe not. So these are the kinds of things that we're attempting to work on. I'd like to thank the Borough President's Office for their recommendations in this area to deny 45,000 square feet of retail at 462 Broadway, and also for the position against changing the Special Little Italy district. And basically, what we're trying to do is keep our neighborhoods neighborhoods, rather than destinations and shopping places, because we know where the money is, but we're fighting for quality of life.
Thank you. Community Board 1?
Well, thank you. Like all of you who have those similar problems, we're going to mention about the lines, but we also have the issue of rooftop cafes, and that's become a major problem recently. We've had 2 in the last month, and been very difficult to sort out rules and guidelines and hours. We are working with our website, with WordPress. I'm very impressed with that so far, so we see a lot of positive things. Thanks to all the hard work here, we have 5 new members. I've contacted them, and next week we're going to have them presented at our executive committee, so they can meet all the chairs. We'll have a little reception for them, and we're very excited to have them on. We didn't have a new high school student in this round, but we've had one since the last one, which has been very positive. A major event the last week or so is that, kind of like Roosevelt Island, we have Battery Park City. And we've worked with both Senator Squadron and Assemblymember Glick, and also Assemblymember New, to introduce legislation to change the charter so that we have at least 2 residents of BPC on that board. Right now, those board members are not representative of the nature of the community, and we hope that that will pass and have a major influence on governance in that neighborhood. But major effort there. My 2 constant things are resiliency and also improvement in both traffic and livability particularly in the financial district. So resiliency, we're still working with Ahmed, been very helpful, but we need to advance that. But in terms of Lower Manhattan traffic and pedestrian issues, at least now, this afternoon, I'll be with the Downtown Alliance, our local bid, for a walkthrough of a study area where they have generated an RFP, which I believe has been answered or awarded, to look at improving the area around the New York Stock Exchange. If any of you see that, it really is just a mess of poor security areas, overburdened by tourists, residents now, poor sanitation because they're trying to get garbage pickup in residential buildings. So at least that's one step, but we continue to advocate for study, both by DOT and the city in general, about improving that whole area. Like everyone else, we're plagued with very tall buildings. One problem, many of ours are as of right.
That's the
And
problem.
this is a,
That's the problem for all of us.
and in fact, some of them are able, in some areas, to get bonuses
Yeah.
because of transportation improvement.
Yeah.
So it's a constant struggle. So thank you.
Thank you. Borough President's report?
Sure, I'll be really quick, and then you might want to add to it. But the issue with the supermarkets and the small business, it is such an ongoing issue. So I would say a couple of things. Obviously, the report, a lot of staff went into it about the supermarkets. And the only other thing I want to add for Manhattan is with this commercial rent tax, just so you know what's going on. So it does exist, as we know, from Chambers to 96th Street. Councilmember Garodnick's bill, probably I shouldn't say this, but you know me, will in fact have a hearing that might be positive in the fall. So that would change the number of generally small businesses in that area who do not have to pay the tax, won't get rid of it. We also have a supermarket bill that says get rid of the CRT for all supermarkets. So just so you know, that's all pending. We could use some help, maybe resolutions, whatever you think is appropriate, both for Dan Garodnick's bill and the supermarket bill, if you think it's appropriate.
Can you send us some material on that to
Absolutely.
generate?
Absolutely.
We have a resolution
So,
on
and then the second issue regarding the small business is vacant storefront. As you know, 188 storefronts are vacant on Broadway. You have more, right? When we went to Repney the other day at a forum, it came up, it was the topic. We're supposed to talk about Repney issues. Guess what happened? Retail, retail, retail. And they don't like any of my suggestions, but they are interested, they're concerned, blah, blah, blah. Apparently 9% nationally is all that we do online. So is it online? Is it the rent? Why are we stuck with the challenges that Terry described and the loss that Jamie's talking about? I think we need to have more discussion. Maybe we can enforce or enact in your area, Jamie, the zoning bill. It does help a bit. We don't have any analysis yet. That's the problem. And my understanding is that in the fall, city planning is going to start to do an official analysis of the Upper West Side zoning. That would help. So let's keep talking about it, because I know time is of the essence, but we're trying on every level. Second is we're working always on the issue of food in general, and summer food. We have flyers here. We're going to be going out across the city in Title I schools tomorrow, because school food is available during the summer in the schools and the recreation centers, but people don't know about it. And it's a challenge with the Department of Education. I won't get into all the maturations, but again, on your websites, tell people where to go, or we can get you flyers. People, parents, 18 and under, you can eat for free all summer long. But parents don't know about it because nobody tells them, and people are not going to go to the website to use this app or whatever. You need a list right on your refrigerator. That's how you find out about school food. So we're working on that. We also have we're working really hard on the subway issue. Now, I love Richard Ravitch. I love that 84-year-old guy. He is the former head of the subways. He doesn't mince words. He said, signals, Gail, signals. So we got the Independent Budget Office to do a study of the fact that the signals could be fixed by 2045, and maybe we could ride the subway then. Literally, that is the heart, the bloodstream of the subways. So it's 20 billion. We can have long conversations about congestion pricing. The mayor today says he's not doing it. The governor won't do it. It's back and forth. I don't know where the 20 billion comes from, but I do know it needs to come sooner than 2045. And I do know, if you look at the studies on our website, the IBO has it, it's something that, again, when you have your discussions, to me, there are so many issues regarding the subway, but the lifeline is the signal system. You can't see it, not a shiny car, so nobody gets excited about it. But it is the way in which we can make the subways work according to the guru, which is Richard Ravitch in my book. But you may want to have more discussions internally. We are doing I know for training, community board training, is Friday, June 23rd. It will, at John Jay College, we're also gonna find a Saturday and other times, because a lot of people cannot take off from work. So I think some people can, Aldrin, but not everybody can. So we're also gonna be looking for other dates and times, but this is a beginning, just so you know. I think you probably already know that. We had an event for seniors talking about the function of the brain a couple of years ago, and 1,020 people showed up. It was unbelievable. So we're doing something with caregivers. You'll see the flyers out there on July 23rd at Fordham with their caregivers. And so there's a huge effort now for the nonprofits working with seniors. I met one of them yesterday. He is literally getting as many, I hate to say accessoride or other means of transportation to get the caregivers to come in addition to the persons they are caring for. Because as you probably know, the caregivers don't get a lot of support. So that's what we're working on for that. I do want to mention in terms of, I think you talked about it earlier, but we met with DCAS about your spaces. And I think it was good to have the meeting because they got off there to figure out about space. So I think we'll be more specific, but they are focused on it. Thinking outside the box, but thinking, yes. Budget. We now have a budget breakdown. I don't know if you do by council district. I don't know if it's by community board. And we'll get it to you. By council district,
And
right?
by community board.
By community board.
Yeah.
All right, so one of the things to do with it is to share it with every single member, if you have it. Do you have that information? No, okay. So we will get it to you.
We will send you your list.
Okay. And then you share it because it's a lot of money this year. And then you combine that with the council money, and I really do think your committees and obviously your staff would like to know where the money went, and is it going to the right place, and what is it doing, and how can it help the community, right? So that, and sometimes, we can all work together with the projects that are going too slowly, like the fence, for your park. I don't like another 100-year fence. I think that's, is there anything else? We have wonderful interns, as you know. That's a big deal for us, and they're all working hard, and I appreciate each and every one of them. I think that's it, unless there's something else you want to add.
Matthew? Lucille? No? Okay. Any council member reps want to give updates? No? Okay. Oh, yes.
Hi, I'm Jackson. I'm from Councilmember Mendez's office. We understand that the MTA went to the CB3 and CB6 transportation committees to talk about the L train shutdown. They will be adding an additional entrance on 14th Street and Avenue A. So that means that they will be doing construction on Avenue A and B. This will probably impact, residents, businesses, so we want to make sure that they kind of, lessen that impact. So we have asked that they brief our office, elected officials, and community boards on their plan when they finalize it and any updates that they have. And that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other council member reps? All right, so without further ado, do we have a motion to adjourn? Second? And all in favor? Aye. Great. Have a great day, everyone.